A billionaire's twins lost their sight, and their father lost his faith. Dozens of doctors failed, until one day a new maid walked into their mansion. She had no wealth, no power, only love. And what she did next brought light back to their world. The mansion stood tall at the edge of the city, where money made walls higher and hearts colder. Inside those marble walls lived billionaire businessman Richard Collins and his 8-year-old twins Emma and Ethan. They were beautiful children, full of life, once, but life had taken something precious from them. A car accident 2 years ago had taken their sight. Since that day, their world turned into endless night. Richard tried everything. Doctors from different countries, surgeries, therapy machines, promising miracles, but nothing worked. His house, once filled with laughter, now echoed only with silence and sadness. The twins rarely smiled, and Richard buried himself in work thinking money could buy peace, but peace never came. He had made chefs and nurses, but none lasted long. The children barely spoke to anyone. They refused food. They screamed in fear at sudden touch. It was as if the world had broken their trust completely. One morning, Richard's assistant told him, "Sir, we found a new maid recommended by the orphanage you fund. Her name is Grace Miller. She has experience working with children with trauma." Richard sighed, not expecting much, but said, "Fine, bring her tomorrow." The next day, a young woman arrived wearing a simple dress and a warm but humble smile. Her skin glowed deep brown under the sunlight, her voice soft but steady. "Good morning, sir. My name is Grace," she said. Richard nodded, just another employee, he thought. But what he didn't know was that this woman would soon change everything. Grace entered the children's room quietly. It was filled with toys left untouched and curtains always closed. The twins sat by the window, hands on their laps, faces turned toward the sound of birds outside. Grace didn't rush. She didn't pity them. She simply sat on the floor near them and spoke softly. "Hi, I'm Grace. I'll be helping around here, but mostly I'm here to be your friend." The twins didn't respond. She continued, "Do you want to know a secret?" That caught Emma's attention. "What secret?" she asked carefully. Grace smiled, her voice glowing. "I know how to see without eyes." The twins tilted their heads, confused. "You can see without eyes?" Ethan asked. "Yes," Grace said. "We all can if we learn to feel with our hearts." She took their hands and placed them on a small pot of flowers. "Do you feel this?" she whispered. They nodded. "Now smell it." They inhaled, and their faces softened. Grace said that seeing through the heart, not the eyes. For the first time in months, the twins smiled faintly. Every day, Grace taught them new ways to feel life. She let them cook with her smell the spices, touch the flour, listen to the sound of boiling water. She described colors and music. Red was like drums, blue like the ocean, flute yellow like laughter. Soon Emma began to giggle again. Ethan started asking questions again. Richard noticed the change, but said nothing. He would stand by the door watching his children laugh, with Grace feeling something he hadn't felt in years, hope. But behind her calm, Grace carried her own pain. She too had once lost someone, a tragedy, her younger brother, who went blind after a fire and died soon after. She had promised his memory that she would help others see life again, even if they couldn't see light. One night, thunder roared across the sky. The twins screamed, terrified, hiding under their blankets. Grace rushed in and held them gently. "It's just the sky talking," she said, smiling. "It's loud, but it's only saying hello." They laughed nervously and hugged her tighter. From that day, the children refused to sleep unless Grace told them stories. She would sit beside them, whispering tales of stars and dreams and courage until they drifted to sleep. Richard began spending more evenings at home. He watched his children play, touch the piano, laugh, and even sing. It amazed him that a simple maid could do what the world's best doctors could not. He started talking to Grace during dinner, sometimes asking about her life. She told him about her brother, about the orphanage, and about believing in healing hearts, not fixing them. One evening, he said softly, "You've done more for my kids in weeks than I have in years." Grace smiled. "You're their father, Mr. Collins. That means you're their son. They just needed someone to help them see your light again." He didn't know why, but those words touched him deeply. That night, he stood by the twins' door, watching them sleep peacefully for the first time in years, and whispered, "Thank you, Grace." But peace never stays long in a heart that has forgotten how to trust. Soon the world tested them again. A few weeks later, a famous eye specialist from Germany arrived. He claimed he could restore the twins' vision with a new treatment. Richard was thrilled. He arranged everything immediately, but Grace felt uneasy. She tried to tell him, "Sir, they're finally happy, please don't rush." But Richard said sharply, "I can't let them live blind forever, Grace. This is my chance to fix everything." The twins cried when they heard they'd be taken to another hospital for surgery. Grace knelt before them, holding their hands. "You must be brave," she said, "but remember what I told you. Even if the world goes dark again, you still know how to see with your hearts." The surgery lasted hours. Richard paced the hallway, sweating, praying. When the doctor came out, his face was pale. "I'm sorry, Mr. Collins," he said. "The treatment failed and may have worsened their condition." Richard felt his world collapse again. That night, Grace found him sitting alone in the dark. He whispered, "I ruined everything." Grace placed her hand on his shoulder. "No, sir, you didn't ruin anything. They don't need eyes to see. They just need your love to guide them." She walked him to the children's room. They were awake, tears on their faces. Grace sat beside them and began to sing softly, a song her brother once loved about stars that never stop shining. Soon the twins joined her, voices trembling but full of hope. Richard fell to his knees, hugging them both. Through tears, he said, "I'm sorry for trying to fix you instead of loving you." And in that moment, something miraculously. The next morning, sunlight filled the room brighter than ever. Emma sat up, rubbing her eyes, then gasped, "Daddy, I can see light." Richard froze. "What?" Ethan shouted, "To me too, I can see light." They couldn't see clearly yet, but they saw the shape of their father, the shadow of Grace, and the bright sun pouring through the window. Doctors later confirmed that some nerve reaction had begun healing naturally. They called it impossible, but Grace called it faith. Days turned into weeks. The twins' vision slowly improved. They could now see colors, outline, smiles. The first thing they clearly saw was Grace's face as she smiled with tears streaming down her cheeks. Richard looked at her and said, "You gave them their life back, Grace. How can I ever thank you?" She replied, "You already did, sir. You started believing again." He insisted she stay with them permanently, not as a maid, but as part of the family. And Grace, who had spent years helping others, finally found her home too. At night, she tucked the twins in as they whispered their prayer. "Thank you for grace, thank you for light, thank you for love." And somewhere in heaven, her brother smiled too. Sometimes miracles don't come from science or money. They come from love, patience, and hearts that refuse to give up. Because even in darkness, the smallest kindness can become the brightest light. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes in miracles.